Okay. Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to this new semester, 2026 second semester, which is starting in grand style. We pray that the good Lord will give us the strength, the wisdom, and the capacity to go through the semester successfully and come out in flying colors. Good evening, God's gift. You are welcome. I can see you. Yes, Oda Jeremiah, you are highly welcome. So it's nice seeing you guys again. We hope to have a wonderful semester. I mean, a semester that will be far better than last semester because last semester we started reading late, but this semester now we are doing it the right way. Oyebanjo, Yetunde, you are highly welcome. So, what are we doing better this semester? This semester, we are going to follow the correct pattern that the school sets for us, as ODL student. In your GST 101, in your NOU 107, in the previous semester, you learned that how to read successfully as an ODL student is that you first skim, you scan the material, that is a fast reading. You go through it a second time in slower method. And of course, the third time you'll be going through it, you will go through it very slowly. If you've done that, there is no any question will come from that material that you will not be able to tackle it, whether it is verbatim or no verbatim. The issue we usually have is that we start reading a month to exam. Some people even start reading a day to exam, and you say that the school is hard or nothing came out from the material. The material you did not scan fully, the material you did not read fully, the material you just opened a day to exam, and you are saying nothing came out from the material. So we want to get it right this semester. We will make sure we complete all our course materials, like we'll read them from beginning to the end and make sure we get the best. Okorocha, Miriam, you are welcome. So let's go straight to what we have tonight. Enough of motivation. This is just 104, use of library. The introductory video was posted earlier today, so I won't take any introduction. If you want to know about the introduction to the course, kindly go to the first video on this course. That is the video that introduced the course to you and everything you are expected to do in the course. However, tonight we'll start with Module 1 and Unit 1. The type of reading we'll be doing first is not the type that is intentional reading to make sure we cover every detail in the material. So it's just like a reading class, not yet much of, I think my screen is off. Kenneth Ku, you are welcome. It seems my screen is off, right? Or can you guys see the screen? Let me hear from one of you. Abigail Dacholom, you are welcome. Victor, you are welcome. I am noticing that the screen is no longer showing, but I want to see if it's going to show. Okay, I think it's back now. So let's start reading, guys. Let's start reading. In this GS 104, if you watch the introductory video posted earlier today, you find out that it's just a course that is totally about a library. But you will learn more than just knowing a library in this course. This course will also introduce you to research projects, writing your project, what is chapter 1, what is chapter 2. Quite a lot of things you will learn in the course. So let's start reading, guys. Don't forget, we are going to interact. Yes, we are not yet preparing for exam, but I would like to engage you by asking questions as we go on with the reading. You may have visited one or two libraries and used some of their basic services, but there is much more to the library than you can see. This module introduces you to various kinds of libraries with their specialized services. For instance, you may be carrying out a research on an aspect of agriculture as an undergraduate, and you may need to visit a special library such as that of International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. Let's test ourselves. What is the full meaning of IIT? Yes, what's the full meaning of IIT? Let's just use that as a welcome. That is the first question you're answering in this semester. Sorry for starting your semester with questions. So, International Institute of Tropical Agriculture is what we call the IITA, which is located in Ibadan. So, which demands a referral service from the library. This module will tell you how to go about it, also introduce you to all other types of libraries and special services they offer. What we're trying to say is that assume when you get to your 400 level and you need to write a final year project. So you picked a topic, and the topic will require you to go to probably a library like the IITA, that is International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, which is located in Ibadan, to do something. The first question that comes to your mind is, how will I go there? Will I just go there and say, please, I'm a student of no, I'm doing research and on agriculture, I need some books or some materials or some resources from your this thing? Will they not slap me? Will they not say, we don't know you? Or is it just my ID card? I'll just go and show them, this is my student ID card, blah, blah, blah. What they are telling you here is that that is a special library, and to get resources from special library you will need some form of referral from your own school library. So how do you go about that referral? You will get it, you will get to know it in this course. So basically this module 1 is just going to talk about types of libraries that we have and the library services we have, but we'll also talk about brief history of the library. How did it all start? This whole idea of putting books in a particular place and putting resources in a particular place for people to come and borrow to use it for different purposes. How did it all begin? So we are going to talk about that. So types of libraries and library services. And well, under this unit, you'll be talking about the concept of a library, a brief history of libraries, the types of libraries we have, like the academic libraries, the research libraries, which is also known as special libraries, the school libraries, the public libraries, and then the national libraries. Those are the things we will talk about. So it's time to read. Well, we don't have objectives here, or probably we have objective after the introduction. So let's read the introduction briefly and see what we have in this unit. This unit will introduce you to types of libraries. However, before going into the types of libraries, you need to first understand the concept of library and its origin. So the various types of library that we treated are the academic libraries, the research or special libraries, the school libraries, the public libraries, and the national libraries. Also in this unit, the functions of the different types of libraries will be treated. I have a question for you guys. I have a question for you guys. Kindly enter one type of library you know already. I know we've not even done the types of library, but we've mentioned them in form of a list. So enter one, just type one type of library that you already know from this little reading we've read, from this kind of overview or introduction that we've gone through. What type of library can you, or yes, remember, or can you name? We have 5 of them listed here. I've mentioned earlier, so I need you to list them in the chat box. So While you are doing that, I would uh, give us a picture of what you are expected to know, what they will test you on in this unit. What exam will likely ask you in this unit? What are the outcomes they want you to know after going through this unit? What is this unit going to contribute to your knowledge, to what you know or what you would have known after reading this unit? Number one, at the end of this unit, you'll be able to define a library. The first thing is that the definition of a library will no longer be something you'll be guessing. They will ask you what is a library. You'll not be saying, that thing or that place that they used to keep books, plenty books like this, and then you see shelves, and then they will arrange it different like people. Then you see one old woman sit by the counter like that and put one computer that is not working in her front. You're not gonna be saying something uncoordinatedly, just kind of giving some guesses. You know how to properly define a library after this unit. Then you also be able to describe the origin of library. Where did this library started? What was the first time? Sorry, when was the first time they mentioned the word library? Who mentioned it? Where was it mentioned? What were they using it to do then? And then how has it evolved over time? Then we'll talk about the class. So we'll classify libraries by their characteristics and functions. So if by the end of this class or this unit, you are unable to answer these three questions, then you have not gone through this unit successfully. You will need to revisit the unit. Good evening, Adedoyin. You are welcome. And every other person that just joined, you are all welcome. This is GST104, a general course for all students, the use of library, because you will all use library in one way or the other. So let's go to the first thing we'll be doing tonight, the concept of a library. The concept of a library. How did this library of a thing operate? How is it like? Before we go into the types of libraries, let us first understand the concept of a library. The word library is library in French, and in Latin, liber, which means book. We have two things now. We are trying to look at the etymological meaning, or probably the origin of the word library. Well, probably it's possible it is not an English word from the beginning. Probably it's a borrowed word, but there is something they call it in French. Library has its name in French, and what we call it in French is library. Library. What you should try to know that spelling. It's a notorious. So in French, it is called library, while in Latin we call it liber. And the meaning of liber in Latin means book. So indirectly, we are saying that what the Latins consider as a library is just a book, because they feel like this is a place that plenty books are kept. So they call it liber. So let's first of all digest the two. Library in French, liber in Latin. This one is TMA question. It's like there is no year it will not cover it. TMA is like they don't really change question in TMA. It's always constant. So in TMA, you have that the word library in Latin, or the word liber in Latin, means dash. It means book. That is a TMA question. So you should know that when we talk about library, the first thing you should register in your mind tonight that should sink in your long-term memory is that library is an English word, but it came from the word library in French and liber in Latin, which means book. Liber in Latin means book, but that is what the Latin called library. Library is a French word for library in French. So, what is now a library? We've talked about slight origin of the word, where the word came from French and from Latin. The French version, library, from Latin, liber, and that liber actually means book. Now, what is a library? A library is an organized collection of resources made accessible to a defined community for reference or borrowing. It is as simple as that. It is as simple as that. We're going to take that definition like two, three, four times until it sinks in our heart and in our mind. We're able to recall it. Many people have not given my video a thumbs up. Please do well to give it a like, please. So let me take the definition of a library over and over and over again until it sinks in our heart. A library is an organized collection of resources made accessible to a defined community for reference or borrowing. A library is an organized collection of resources made accessible to a defined community for reference or borrowing. A library is an organized collection of resources made accessible to a defined community for reference or borrowing. Now, what does this mean? The first thing you need to bear in mind in that definition is that there is organization. There is organization. So a library is not a place where you go and books are just scattered on the table. And then you say because plenty books are scattered on the table, then that place qualifies for a library. No, that is not a library. So what will give me an impression when I enter a place that this place is a library? The first thing I will notice is organization. Well arranged. Well arranged. So organization is the first thing that you will notice in any library. But what is that organization? What are the items, the contents that are organized? They are called collection. Probably this is a collection of science textbook. This is a collection of novels. This is a collection of agriculture textbook. This is a collection of storybooks. This is a collection of scriptural books. Each collection we have different books under it, but they are all collections together. So when you want to, maybe we have like 1,000 books on uh, religion. So that collection is religion, but under religion you have several books under them. But those several books under the collection religion will be well organized in shelves. So collection of resources. So each book under the religion collection is a resource for you to use to study about religion. So another thing is access. They are made accessible. They are made accessible. So it is not going to qualify for a library if it is just a place with plenty books well arranged, different collections well arranged, well organized, but nobody can enter inside. That's not a library. Or no door to pass through to enter inside. Or it's all locked up. Nobody can access it. It is not a library. So, first thing in the definition of a library, organization. Second thing, collection of resources. Collection of just like group of resources. Like I made example of religion resources, academic resources, political resources, and so on and so forth. Then, number three, access. They are not only organized collection of resources, but they are also accessible to who? Who is that person with access to a library? A defined community. Not just a community, but a defined community. It's going to look absurd now for a student from Unilag to just enter into a library in National Open University just to collect book unnecessarily, without student ID, without belonging to the non-community, without being a member of that study center. It's not going to look funny because the library in Lagos Study Center is expected to serve the students of Lagos Study Center. So somebody just walking on the road cannot just branch in and say, please give me uh, GST104 course material. Who are you? That's the first question they will want to ask, because you are not a member of our defined community, people that this library is meant for. So a library is meant to serve a defined community. So that defined community may be a school, maybe if it's a public library, it may be the environment, the community to which it belongs. So number 14 to pen down on the definition of a library is that the resources in the library are made accessible only to a defined community. And what does that community do with the library? They come to use those resources for referencing or to borrow them. Again, let's take the definition of a library. A library is an organized collection of resources made accessible to a defined community for reference or borrowing. I think they like to use that. They like to use that statement a lot in TMA. In TMA, yes. So let's uh, let's use this one as an icebreaker. You guys have been quiet for long, so that is another question to help us break the ice. So as we move on with our reading, it provides physical or digital access to material, that is a library, and may be a physical building or room. A library may be a physical building or room. It may be a virtual space, like some of you have virtual libraries in your phone, on your system, on your tab now. It doesn't have to be a house now. We have virtual space, so that is virtual libraries. Or it can even be both, a combination of both. You may have a small library in your house and still have a library on your phone, collections. So a library's collection. We said something that a library is an organized collection of resources. So that collection, what is a library's collection? I've been giving you some examples to that time that I said that this one is religion collection, that is books on, religion, academic, political, several collection. But what is a standard definition? What are the things that makes up a library's collection? What are the things we can find in a library's collection? That is a question in TMA that usually ask which of the following is not a library's collection. So which means everything listed there you should know, although the obvious answer they used to add to that question is real estate document. Real estate document. That is the that is the odd uh that is the odd option somebody add to it. So what are libraries collections, or what are the examples of things that make up the library's collection? What will you find in a library when you go to a library? That is what we are trying to say. So one, we have books. That is the obvious one that everybody knows, because when they start talking about library now, all you say is books, books, but that is not all a library is made up of. We have periodicals, we have newspapers, manuscripts, films, maps, prints, we have documents, we have microfilm, we have CDs, we have cassettes, videotapes, DVDs, ebooks, audiobooks, databases, and other formats that we can find. Let's list them, guys. as you are seeing them, just let's try to list them and see the ones you will be able to recall. A library's collection can include which of the following? We have books, can include books, periodicals, newspapers, manuscripts, themes, maps, prints, documents, microfilm, CDs, cassettes, videos, DVDs, ebooks, audiobooks, databases, and other formats that you can find in a library. In this place alone now, we've talked about the meaning of a library. We've talked about the origin or the root words of library, liber and library. Library in French, liber in Latin, which means book. We've talked about the meaning of a library, which is an organized collection of resources made accessible to a defined community for referencing or borrowing, or for reference or borrowing. And now we've moved to, and don't forget, I would say this same library can be a physical building or room, and it could also be a virtual space. So we have the physical building can qualify for a library, or a virtual space also qualify for a library. And then we move to the library's collection. Since a library is an organized collection of resources, what are these resources? What are these collections that we can find in the library? We mentioned a few. We have books, periodicals, newspapers, manuscripts, themes, maps, prints, documents, microfilm, CDs, cassettes, videotapes, DVDs, ebooks, audiobooks, databases, and other formats. So libraries range in size from a few shelves of books to several millions of items. I This one is not TMA question, it's exam question. It's usually comes out in exam. So dash ranges in size. It could be from a few shelves of books to several millions of items in the bigger one. So that means we have different sizes of libraries. That is what they're trying to tell you. So in Latin and Greek, the idea of bookcase is represented by bibliotheca. That is another funny thing they like dwelling on. Not in TMA this time, but in I will be ashamed of any one of you that will be a part of this class and will not be able to do TMA, him or herself. That will be a shame. Well, I don't. I will exclude some set of people that we know the nature of that job will not give them the time to, you know, stay on the screen for long doing TMA. Now, this means that okay. Let's take that statement again. It's very important. In Latin and Greek, the idea of bookcase is represented by bibliotheca, and this bibliotheca is just a form of library in their own place, but it's a bookcase where a case where you put books, where you put books. So, and what does that mean? It means that library in many modern languages. So this bibliotheca in many of these are modern languages we have, it means library. Bibliotheca means library in many modern languages. Bibliotheca means library. You know that it is in Latin and in Greek that they use a bookcase which they call bibliotheca. But that same bookcase now in our modern languages, if you should translate that bookcase now, it was just a bookcase then, but now with what we have that we call a library or a bookcase then, which is known as bibliotheca, qualifies to be called a library. So for example, in French, library is called bibliothèque. This is where some of you get confused. At the beginning, we said the concept of library, the word library, you understand, is actually library in French. So when you go to the bottom of this same paragraph, you have not even entered another paragraph. You saw that in French, library is called bibliothèque. So you get confused. There's no confusion there. The first part is just like an etymological meaning. We're trying to see the root word, where it came from. Library in French. So this other bibliothèque is a reference name. What they call library in French is bibliothèque. In case now, how will you answer questions in the exam that won't bring confusion? You understand? If it's a fill in the gap, you understand? Uh, the question will start from in French. Library is called dash. So once is that one, you know it is bibliothèque. But when they tell you that the word, the word library, the word library, which is dash in French, you know that it's the two now, we have two different things now. The word library, which is dash in French, and in French, library is called dash. So don't get it confused. If you see in French, library is called dash, that is bibliothèque. While the word library, which is library in French, means, okay, no, that is in French, it means library. So, guys, that is the concept of a library. You already know the meaning of a library now. With this short explanation, you know what a library is. You know what we call it in French, what we call it in Latin. You know the full meaning of the word library. And then you know that we could have a library in the physical building or in a virtual space. Then you know what a library's collection is all about, and the items you can find in the library, which are called library's collection, the things that makes up a library. And now you also know that libraries are in sizes. We have some that are just made up of few shelves of books, and some that are very huge. And then we also have we have learned that in Latin and Greek we have something we call a bookcase, which is called bibliotheca, and it means library in modern languages. And in French, a library is called bibliothèque. Having done all this, we are done with that first part. Now we move to history and origin of libraries, the history and the origin of libraries. But let's take a short icebreaker. I want somebody to define a library. Kindly type the definition of a library. What is a library? I'm going to hold on. I'll use that one as icebreaker for this section before we move to history or origin. So, what's the library? What is a library? Let's hear from you guys. What is a library? What is a library? Let's hear from you guys. Yes. What is a library? Still waiting for you guys. Mm, yes, waiting for you guys. We need to know if you guys know it before we move on. Okay. All right. Agbola Odunlayo says a library is an organized collection of resources made accessible to a defined community for reference or borrowing. Clap for yourself, Agbola. You are doing well. That's wonderful. Then, Comedy James, a library is an organized collection of resources made accessible to a defined community. Wow, you guys are hot. Wonderful. Wonderful. Libraries and organized resources. Well, you try. You try Adewale Kajobola. You try, but try to rephrase it. All right, Tunde Moruf. A library is an organized collection of resources made accessible to a defined community for reference or borrowing. Absolutely correct. Thank you. So you guys are doing well. That means we have hot brains here. You guys are doing absolutely well. So we are good to go. History and origin of libraries. Where did they start from? What can we say about the origin of libraries? I hope we've not, because this class is not supposed to exceed 1 hour. Okay, we still have time. All right. The first libraries contain archives. Well, there is a typo here. It's actually archives, not archives, because what is written here is archives, but that is an error. So the first libraries contain archives of the earliest form of writing, such as clay tablets in cuneiform script, discovered in Sumer, some dating back to 2600 before Christ. Well, this is just story history. You just need to know that as far back as 2600 before the birth of Christ, they found some items which are in form of cuneiform script, clay tablets. They are kind of clay tablets. They use clay to, those stories we heard in the Bible about Moses and the Ten Commandments when he went to, all those tablets they used them. So in this case, they say clay tablets in form of cuneiform script. As far back as 2600 before the birth of Christ, they found that. So that is an earlier appearance of library. So that kind of clay tablet in cuneiform script is what they refer to as the earliest form of writing. First libraries contained archives of the earliest form of writing, such as clay tablet in cuneiform script. So let's test you guys if you guys have been following. I made a correction in the material that they misspelled something, kind of a typo, trying to spell archives, not archives. So let's see if you guys are following. Let's answer that question. The answer. Oh, it's raining here already, but I just hope the rain will not affect the class. Thank you, archives. I just want to see if you guys will know the correct spelling. So now, these written archives, they've corrected themselves here. So these written archives marked the end of prehistory and beginning of history. So it was the written archives that marked the end of prehistory and the beginning of what we know as history. So what marked the end of prehistory? What if you're asked that in exam, that what marked the end of prehistory? What marked the end of prehistory and also served as the beginning of history itself? So there was a time called prehistory where history were not made then. And then we have another time where history began. So let's see what we have next after that. So according to Zhang in 2011, the earliest discovered private archives were kept at Ugarit. This is just history. You don't need to crack your brain much. Just try to open your mind and see if you can grab some of this. It's just something sweet about library. So there is a man called Zhang in 2011, and according to this Zhang, the earliest discovered private archives were kept at Ugarit. This was in Ugarit they found that. Also, there was evidence of libraries at Nippur about 1900 before Christ, and at Nineveh about 700 before Christ, showing a library classification system. I know some of you remember the place called Nineveh in the Bible. You will know that. So there was an appearance of library in that place. Now, private or personal libraries consisting of written books appeared in classical Greece in the 5th century BC? This is a question they ask in TMA. I'm glad the way we want to start this semester. I'm so glad. Many of you will be able to do your TMA yourself and you will nail your 30-30. So the earliest appearance, or let's say private or personal libraries consisting of written books, appeared in classical Greece in the 5th century before Christ, BC. Now, in the 6th century, that's just a century after that private or personal libraries appeared in classical Greece. In the 6th century, we have that at the very close of the classical period, the great libraries of the Mediterranean world, the great libraries of the Mediterranean world were those of Constantinople. Constantinople. You people will not, they will not make me bite my tongue tonight. Oh. We've gotten to this, they are big, big. Okay, Constantinople or Nipple. Okay, and Alexandria. That is in the 6th century. Now, from the 15th century, getting close or closer to our time now, in central and northern Italy, libraries of humanists and their enlightened patrons existed. They ask questions on these two. So let's test ourselves and see if we're following. So from the 15th century, in central and northern Italy, we have that libraries of humanists and their enlightened patrons existed. That is in 15th century, northern and central Italy. Northern and central Italy. Northern and central Italy. Okay. So let's see. Okay. All right. You guys are doing well. So that is in northern and central Italy. Now, the oldest, now this is a very important statement in this history, all that we have been reading under history and origin of library. Put this one in mind. Put this one in mind. Don't forget it. Put it on your left hand. The oldest existing library in China was Tianyin Chimba. Tianyin Chimba, Chamba. The Tianyin Chamba Library, which was founded in 1561 by Feng Qin. There are so many things you need to remember about this China library of a thing. One, it is the oldest existing library. Number one, it is the oldest existing library. Number two is that it was founded in China. Yes, the location is China. Oldest library we can think of is in China, and the name is Tianyin Chamba. Tianyin Chamba, and that library came into existence in 1561. In 1561. Who started that library? The man called Feng Qin. Let's take that statement again to help us digest it, because I know what I'm saying is an important part of this history. The oldest existing library in China was Tianyin Chamba Library, which was founded in 1561 by Feng Qin during the Ming Dynasty. Now, it had a collection of 70,000 volumes of antique books. So when you are asked in the exam in a twisted version that Dash had 70,000 volumes of antique books, they are asking you about the Tianyin Chamba Library. The Tianyin Chamba Library, founded in 1561 by Feng Qin that is during the time of Miang's dynasty, was the one that contains 70,000 volumes of antique books. So that is for China. We have another story of library in North American. In North American. So personal collections of books were brought over to the continent by French settlers in the 16th century. So North America got books from French settlers in the 16th century. So the oldest non-personal library on the uh, North America continent was founded at Jesuit College in Quebec City in 1635. So why that of China was in 1561? In fact, China has they've developed long time ago, even before America. So the record of library in China that was in 1561. Why that of the North America continent, they founded their own library, which was in Jesuit College in Quebec City. That occurred in 1635. Important things to remember. In China, it was in 1561, and it is called Tianyin Chamber Library, founded by Fan Qing during the Ming Dynasty in 1561. And it is the oldest existing library that we can find. Well, we can actually agree to that it is the oldest existing library, because the one founded in America was later. That is 1635. So that of America is still far, far away, while they've already discovered that of China. So, two important years: 1561 China, 1635 North America. It's as simple as that, and we are done with history and origin of the library. This course is not concerned about giving you history. So that is why they just speak short history that is available for the library, because that is not our focus in this book. So in this part of the material under history, you've learned important things like where the earliest archives, the form of writing, which were in form of clay tablet and cuneiform script, that is 2600 before Christ, were discovered. You've learned about the Zhang submission in 2011 that say private archives were kept in Ugarit. You've learned about evidence of libraries in Nepal in 1900 before Christ, and in Nineveh 700 before Christ. And then you learn that private or personal libraries, which consist of written books, appeared in classical Greece in 5th century before Christ. And in the 6th century, just a century after that, we have libraries appearance in the Mediterranean world, where we have the Constantinople and Alexandria. And then from 15th century, we have northern Italy. In 1561, China. In 1635, North America. So that is all you need to remember. And that of North America was founded in Jesuit College in Quebec City. They like asking questions on that, so please bear it in mind. So we have done justice to the concept of a library. We have done justice to history and origin of a library. Let's take an icebreaker. Let's take an icebreaker. An icebreaker before we move to the next, because you guys have been quiet for long. Okay, so let's see those that have been following. That is a very short question and interesting one for you guys to answer. Thank you as you answer that question. Yes. Let's try our best. Yes, let us try our best. Let's see those following. Yes, 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 yes. Waiting for you guys. Waiting for you guys. Waiting for you guys. What's there? So we have okay, I'm still far away. People are saying humanist. Okay, North American, North American, North American. Lagos State, Jewish seat. Okay. Which kind of Jewish seat is this one? Even if it's Jewish seat, which kind of spelling is this? Thank you, Mr. Comedy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Which one is Jewish seat? You people should slap Lagos State to Lagos State Conference. Number one, the answer is not Jewish seat. So, and even that your Jewish seat is looking juicy. Well done. So that is interesting. So at least you guys have been following North America. So types of libraries. Types of libraries. I don't like us to rush things. Moving to types of libraries tonight means that we are rushing things. So what I'll just do now is I'll just take the summary of everything we've done tonight and we'll end one on GST104. It's a very short material. We'll definitely finish it. We have time. So don't bother about are we going to finish it. So they said that at the end of this unit, we should be able to define a library, describe the origin of library, classify libraries by their characters and functions. That is the only thing we have not done tonight, but we have done the definition of a library and we have described the origin of a library. So let's check. What is a library? Yes, let's hear from you guys again. Definition of a library. Let's hear from you guys. What is a library? Because that is what they want us to know, what they will test us on in this unit. And we've done it, so it's time to test ourselves and see if we have truly achieved the intended learning outcomes. So question number one, classwork, everybody, you need to answer. What is a library? Okay, I think I need to type it there so you guys will be able to answer it. What is a library? A library. What is a library? So let's hear from you guys. Yes, you've learned about collection of resources made accessible to a defined community, reference, borrowing. So what is a library? And we've also learned about uh, the fact that libraries comes in sizes. Some are just few shelves of book to some that have millions of resources. And we also learned that libraries can be in form of a physical building or a virtual space. And then you learned the library's collection, which contains things like books, tapes, cassettes, videos, films, and so on and so forth. You learned that under library's collection. And that was the end of library, the concept of a library. And then we moved on to the origin, or something we might call history of a library. So let me just ask us a simple question. Just type the year. The library, the earliest appearance of library in China, which is called the Tianyin Chamber Library, founded by Fan Qin during the Ming Dynasty, was founded in which year? That is a question. It was founded in which year? The earliest appearance of library, which was founded in China. Thank you. Somebody already answered that. Tunde Morufu, God bless you. 1561. Mr. Case, thank you. Francis, you are well done. Sadiq Miriam, that's absolutely correct. So the year for China is 1561. Okay, another question under history. Under the history of library, there was a library founded in 1635. Where was it founded? There was a library founded, the earliest appearance of library in North America in 1635 was founded where? Where in that North America was it founded in 1635? The earliest appearance of libraries in North America was founded in which year? That is the second question under history. And then Jesuit College in Quebec City. God bless you, Francis Asianka. That's awesome. Jesuit College in Quebec City. Yes, Sadiq Miriam, that's absolutely correct. And I have one last question under the origin of library. Under the origin of library. Oh, the appearance of library in form of the clay tablet and cuneiform script, which was in the ancient time, was founded in which year before Christ? Which year before Christ? That library that they found out, sorry, they found clay tablets, which are in form of cuneiform script, was in what year before Christ? The year is BC. Yes, somebody said 26,000. Oh my goodness. This person is I am that I am. Francis, I am that I am. Yes, thank you, Akinola Dorcas. 2600 BC. My boss at Francis, I know you just added 10 typo. So you are probably trying to say 2600 before Christ. That is the correct answer. 2600 before Christ. And those of you saying 5th century BC, may I remind you guys where they mention that 5th century BC so that your mind will be at peace. That is where we have private or personal libraries, which consisted of written books and they appear in classical Greece. That is one of 5th century that you are answering. Private or personal libraries consisting of written books appeared in classical Greece in the 5th century BC. Don't forget, that is an important one because I think they ask it in TMA. Private or personal libraries consisting of written books appeared in classical Greece in the 5th century BC. Haven't done this, guys? Clap for yourself. You've done wonderfully well. You've started this semester in a grand style. This is GST104, and we've just crushed the first two topics: the definition of a library, which talked about the concept of a library, and then this brief origin or brief history or origin of the library. And I believe we've learned quite a lot tonight. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. It's been a wonderful time with you guys. And we hope that every other course will swing in the same motion. Let's bring the class to an end now. Yes, you guys are doing well. So one last question. One last question before we go. There was a place where there was a mention of 70,000 antique books, 70,000 volumes of antique books. Where was that place? 70,000 volumes of antique books. Where was that place? So just mention the place and we are done tonight. China, 70,000 volumes of antique books. Francis Azianka says it is China. How many of you go with that? Thank you, Francis. You've been following. Yes, that is in Tianyin Chamber Library, which is located in China. Thank you, guys. It's been a wonderful time tonight. We'll bring the class to an end here. For all of you that are in attendance, God bless you. You guys should check up on Grace. She's actually on medication That is why she's unable to join us. She's just trying to manage herself. We pray for quick recovery. And then we once again commit this semester into the hands of God, that God will help every one of us to come out in flying colors. I mean, we are going to record far and better results than last semester. We started with God. We pray God will help us to the end. So, do have a wonderful night. Sleep tight and enjoy your night.